All right, so now I get to the fun part, which is cleaning all this stuff up. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to scrape up our ink and save as much of that as we can. To do that, just get some wax paper, and that's usually gonna be over on that long table at the back of the room. So just a little piece like this is fine. So with your knife, just scrape up as much ink as you can, and then we're gonna deposit that directly in the center of our wax paper, and just keep scraping that up. If you have any ink that's still in your roll-up area, you can scrape that as well, and just put that with what we have on the wax paper already. Okay. All right, so once you have the extra ink, just flip this over on itself, fold it over on itself a few times, just like that. And what I would like for you to do is to take a Sharpie, and there should be one on that back table. Just take a Sharpie and write what it is. So in this case, it's relief ink. So we'll write relief black, and then put the date so that we know how long it's been sitting there. Today's the 14th? Sure. All right, so what I would like, and we'll bring it over here. So I generally keep the ink back here in this little white container. And what I would like for you guys to do is whenever you come in to print, check here first, and so that we're using the leftover ink before we mix fresh ink. So let's try to go through that leftover ink before we mix fresh ink. And again, that will generally be right back here as your Sharpie back here as well, so you guys can label your ink before you put it in there. All right, so once we've got the ink scraped up, we'll start kind of cleaning our slab off. So we need to have some paper towels handy, and we need to have our mineral spirits, which I've got right here. So we'll clean our silicone mat, and we need to clean that on both sides. So one thing that, as you're printing, these silicone mats are going to start to collect ink and get some heavy deposits of ink on them. So you need to periodically clean these off, and to do that, make sure that you're not exposing your ink to mineral spirits. So ideally, go to a different table to do that, or just try to be really careful to not cross-contaminate your ink with mineral spirits. But again, ideally, you just move to a different surface that's a clean surface to actually wipe this down, because otherwise, what will happen if you don't clean these periodically as you're actually printing is that accumulation of ink will get onto the back of your blocks, and then once you send it through the press, the tendency is for that ink deposits on the back of your block to kind of squeeze out, and that will then end up on your paper and ruin your print. So it is important to monitor this and to clean it periodically. And if you're completely done with it and ready to put it away, be sure that you're cleaning it thoroughly on both sides, because this is porous, so the ink will go through onto the back side. So just wipe it until you're not getting any discoloration of ink on your paper towel. All right, so that's clean. We'll set that aside for now. So before we wipe all this down, we're going to start cleaning our brayers. So to do that, we'll just put some mineral spirits out onto our slab, and we'll start with the smaller ones first. So we're just going to roll these small brayers through that little puddle of mineral spirits. All right, and then I'm going to start wiping these. So when you're wiping the brayers, make sure that you're not just getting the top portion of the brayer, but that you're really getting into the edges there as well, close to where like the little axle is, the pin that actually holds it into the carriage of the brayer, right? Wipe the handles down. So every bit of this really needs to be cleaned thoroughly, so that they will be reusable. Especially the actual, top of the brayer and the edges of the brayer, the actual roller portion. If those don't get cleaned thoroughly, adequately, when that ink dries, it's going to create these inconsistencies in the surface of the brayer, and that's going to affect the way the ink is able to be applied to your blocks and your substrates. All right, so we got that one cleaned up. So same thing with this kind of next size up, this larger brayer. So just roll this through. and just make sure you're getting in around the edges as well. With these, the open part is a little bit larger, so it's easier to kind of get a paper towel underneath there and clean that. But you'll need to clean that as well, especially if when you're doing your initial rolls, if your ink is too heavy, it's going to have a tendency to kind of like splash that ink up onto this portion of the brayer. So make sure that you're wiping that down as well. All right, so we'll set those aside. Okay, so now we'll clean our larger brayer here. I'll go ahead and wipe up some of this here. Okay. So really this is the only time, other than if you're rolling ink, that it's okay to have your brayer face down. Anytime when you're not using it, it needs to, again, be stored like that, in between charging a brayer and absolutely whenever you're putting it away. All right, let's take some more paper towels here. So these paper towels, really need to try to be conservative with them. So these paper towels should just be completely gross and covered with ink and solvents before they get thrown away, so that we're not just wasting them. So make sure, again, you're cleaning all the surfaces, so not just the brayer itself, the roller portion, make sure you're getting the sides, make sure you're getting the top metal portion, and then as best you can, try to get up underneath here as well to get inside of there, clean all that out. And what will happen if that area doesn't get cleaned is it'll actually start to kind of build up and accumulate a film of ink. And so then whenever you go to try to use a brayer, just a little bit of force when you're pushing down to charge the brayer, it'll make contact with that bit of ink. And if it's dry, it'll either create like a little strip that's not holding ink, or if that ink is still wet, it'll just make that area thicker with ink. So make sure to clean that up. And of course the handle as well, wipe that. All right, so we got it pretty clean, so I'm just gonna turn my paper towel inside out to where I get to a cleaner portion of it, and just apply some mineral spirits directly to that and just finish wiping this. So I'm just now wiping directly onto the brayer itself. Sure, I'm wiping the edges, and again wiping the top and bottom of the carriage part, and then cleaning off the handle. All right, so you'll know it's clean if you can wipe paper towel along the edge of it and very little discoloration is coming from it. Right, so that's nice clean brayer. So when you're done with these, again, these need to be stored up here. So you lift up this blanket, just store them back up here with the others, and again, make sure that they're always stored with the roller side face up. All right, so to finish up, we'll come back over here and we'll just wipe the rest of this down. So we'll put a little bit more mineral spirits just directly onto our slab and finish wiping this down. So cleanup is very important. It's important to the preservation of the equipment. So just, basic studio maintenance, taking care of the equipment is something that everyone is required to do and will be evaluated on. And so, also the print shop is a very cooperative environment. So I am expecting that all of you will help each other out, especially when it comes to cleanup, so that, you don't just leave one person with a huge mess. So everyone's responsible for maintaining and cleaning the studio. So, be kind, be courteous, and communicate with other people in the studio and let them know, or ask them what you can do to help out. All right, so as I said, these paper towels should be completely soaked before you toss them. So anything that is rag waste, so if it has ink on it, it has solvents, that needs to go in the red and yellow containers that we have over here. All right, so we'll clean the knife a little bit, finish cleaning this slab. So to clean the knife, just essentially the same as with the brayer, and we'll just wipe it off with a paper towel. Again, make sure that you are wiping the handle as well. And then when you're done with that, that will go back over here in the number 3 drawer. And then we'll just wipe all this down. All right. More paper towel, I think that should do it. Okay. All right, that looks pretty good. So if after you do the full wipe down with the mineral spirits, and again, anything that has mineral spirits ink goes in the rag racing containers right here. But if after you clean it, you still notice it's kind of, kind of muddy, or there's kind of like a grayish film left on there, then to clean that, just a little bit of simple green, spray directly onto the press, the slab, and just wipe that down, and that should get rid of any residue that's left behind. All right, that's it.